So in this video, I'm just going to do some extras and just summary of what we did in the last video. Alright, so we've talked about redirection, standard input and standard outputs, and we'll also talk a bit about standard error, which is part of a file stream. So we have 3 file streams. So we have standard inputs, standard outputs, and standard error. Before we talk about standard error, let me just show you some other things about how we can also use the standard outputs. I know you have been very familiar with the echo command, but not really knowing what is really working, what is really happening in echo command. So that echo command, what you've been doing, you've been redirecting it into a file. That's what you've been using echo command for since. So if I want to create a file and maybe put something inside, I just name it, maybe the stuff is whatever, then I can redirect it inside a file. Let me just name this one as file name. So let me check that file name here. You can see, so it's just what we've been doing with echo command, and we can also append it. So if I say echo whatsoever, so I'll use double arrow, file name, cat file name. Remember, this cat file name is also a standard redirection in terms of redirecting it in the other way, in direction. So cat file name can say whatever and whatsoever. So that's just what we've been doing with the echo command. But personally, I would still advise whenever you're using echo command, you should just use those, you should add those quotation marks there, just so you can really split the difference between contents. So just so that you know that that's a content. Okay, cat file name. So that's just it about that. What is something the next thing I want to talk about is how to check the numbers of line that is within your file without actually maybe using cat to check it and then be counting it as 1, 2, 3. Or if you have many files and you want to know the number of lines that is in that file, so there's a command to do that. So in order to do that, you can use wc-l, then the name of the file, so file name. So this tells me that I have in this file name, the contents there are 3 lines. So you can see we have 3 lines within my file name. Alright, if you want to get only the actual number without the name of the file with it, you just need to add the redirection sign, the less than sign arrow. So that's -l. Then we're going to add the name of the file. So you can see, so you just say we are bringing out the standard in output from the file itself. We're not using our keyboard this time around, so it entered inside that file which we've created. Then it brings out only the value, the 3 inside. So that's what it brought out in our standard output here from the standard input that is already inside the file, without us needing to use our keyboard. Alright, so let's not talk about, I know we've been also in the previous lectures, you've been seeing me using greater than sign at times instead of using touch or any other command to make it faster for me to create an empty file. So like, let me see, this is empty file. So this is an empty file. If I check my ls, it should be there. Okay, yeah, that's it, the empty file. If I do cat empty file, I'm not expecting to see anything, so you can see nothing show. Now what we are actually doing is that there's, on the norms there should have been maybe a command at the first front, but there's actually nothing there, right? So we're just kind of like pushing empty stuff inside a new file. Okay, just like we are truncating a file. Now let me do another example. Let me use this file name which we've already created. This file name has these 3 contents inside, this 3 line contents inside. So if I do this stuff, like if I say greater than file name, Now it will modify, it will overwrite what is inside the file name and to make the file name an empty file. So that's what you can see there's actually nothing inside this particular first before the greater than sign. So it's as if it's pushing in and overwriting it in an empty, making it the file name an empty file. So if I say cat file name now, you won't see anything anymore. You can see nothing showed. So that's just what we've been doing with that greater than sign. So it's simply using the redirection operator with no command preceding it. It will truncate an existing file or create a new file. So either if the file is already there and you use the greater than sign, it will truncate it to be an empty file. But if the file is not there at all, it will just create a new file, which is what we've been doing with our greater than sign. So it's just another substitute for the touch command also. So lastly, let's talk about the aspect of the standard error redirection. So like I said the other time, we have three file streams. We have the standard inputs, we have the standard outputs, and we have the standard error. Right. So let's just see some basic illustration of how the standard error is all about, or what is it? What it's all about. So standard errors are just like errors you have been seeing. Maybe sometimes whenever you write a wrong command, maybe something like that. Okay, I just wrote rubbish now. Okay, good, you can see. So this is an example of an error, command not found. Okay, so that's what we mean by an error, standard error. So though the standard error is printing out in a standard output at the same time here. All right. So let me just do something that can relate to something related to standard error. So if I see something like ls-l, and I go to my bin from my root directory, I enter the bin and I enter user, which there's actually no there's no file or folder called user in my bin. Then okay, before I talk about this, let me just say this also. While we have referred to the first three of these file streams, that is standard input, standard output, standard error, shell references them internally as file descriptors. Okay, so standard input is represented as 0, standard output is represented as 1, and standard error is represented as 2. So if I put now 2 greater than sign, then if I let me just create a file. So just a normal file. Now, remember I said there's no user in our bin, which on the norms this should have given me error. You understand? So since it doesn't, like, in short, let me first do this. ls-l bin user. So you can see it brings this error. So now what I did here up here is that I've redirected this error message. Instead of it to show in this screen now, it is showing inside the file, like it entered inside the file. So if I do cat ls then file, you can see it's the same error message that is showing in the output, standard output, that's also showing inside the file. So it's a way of redirecting it now. So that's how to redirect an error message that is showing in our output. You want it to redirect inside the file. So this is 2. 2 is for standard error. So, but in most cases now it has been modified. The bash has been modified into using this command for standard error. We can also append it too. So using this command -l bin user, this time around using and. So what this and does is that it will redirect both the standard error and the standard output inside the file. Okay, so both the standard error and standard output. So since, let me just put a double arrow so to append it, so we'll be able to see the effect of this one, that so you will know that it's the same thing as this 2 greater than sign, although not really the same thing per se, because this and moves the standard output and the standard error together. But it's also the same thing this 2 greater than sign does too. But I think this is just a new notation that feels much better to use than using that number 2. So ls-file. Okay, so let's check cat ls-file. So you can see, so it's the same error message that is saved inside the file. So that's just that. Is there anything else I'm missing? Okay, so I think that's it. So there's also then something called a bit bucket. So like in Linux, there's something known as bit buckets where unwanted outputs can be disposed. The special file for this is door null. What I mean by door, def null rather, def null. So def null is actually within our, let me go to our root directory. Okay, so dev cd dev ls. So that's this null here. So that's what I mean by def null. Okay, so def null is what we call bit bucket, just like a dustbin kind of. So if we want to, like, you know, those error messages we are seeing here while we are doing this our bin user stuff, so you can just, as if you want to throw it in the dustbin inside the dev null there, the error will just throw itself inside there. Let me go back to my own directory and the dev.plus directory. So just like the other one, I can just say ls-l slash bin user. So the error, I'm redirecting the error to enter inside this dev null, kind of like I'm throwing the error inside the dustbin. So you can see it's still the input out, which means it's really enter inside this null stuff here. So that's just what the essence of just me talking about is dev, just so that it's kind of like a slang in programming. So if you hear someone say something jokingly I like sending how to send your comments to dev null, at least now you understand what it means. Like just like say how to throw it in the trash or something. So just like a funny unique coding word or slang. So that's it about that anyways. So I think that's it concerning this aspect of redirection stuff and all. I hope you understand this video. Bye.